Alhamdulillah, as we can see, the people of Damascus and inshallah more broadly in Syria are celebrating a great deal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase them in blessings. Of course, it's a very dangerous time for them. The person who and the people who had been oppressing them for such a long time, by the grace of Allah Most High, they have been removed, they have fled, and we should all turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this immense blessing. Personally, alhamdulillah, I was in Damascus for roughly 4 years, and even before the civil strife, the civil war began, everybody was always uncomfortable and on edge when it comes to the regime, the state apparatus, the government. It was an incredibly uncomfortable situation for people to be in. At any point, any person could just be taken off the streets, arrested by the secret police, disappeared. I know of at least one person directly who just disappeared. Nobody knew where he was. And this continued for months. And then, alhamdulillah, ultimately, he was sent back to his home country. And alhamdulillah, he was safe. But, the situation, the people who knew him and loved him had to go through is terrible. And that's, relative to some of the other things that happened, it's really minor. So it really has been, even before the civil war, it was a really difficult situation to live in. People would, the understanding was that the secret police, they had their agents out there who would try to get people to speak about politics. And if they managed to do so and anybody said the wrong thing, they'd be taken, they'd be disappeared, potentially their families would be oppressed as well. And that's the situation prior. And of course, when the civil war began, it became much, much worse, unbearably worse. And our brothers and sisters there have been living with this for a long, long time. So, alhamdulillah, my communication with my teachers, the scholars whom I'm in touch with in Damascus, there is great celebration and joy, but also great apprehension. They are joyful that the oppressor has gone. They are hopeful with regards to the future, but they are scholars. They are intelligent people. They are smart people. They understand that there is potentially a turbulent future coming up. And yes, in these few days, there has been great rejoicing, but there's also been some upheaval as the current regime fled and the new one was coming in. There has been unrest, and of course, the Zionist state has been bombing. That's caused great fear to the people of Syria generally, and even in Damascus. One of my teachers who was there, he spoke to me about how the planes were constantly overhead and they were bombing quite close to where he was. So subhanallah, despite the joy and the celebration, there are a lot of dangers. There are also a lot of conspiracies, people speaking about there have been secret conversations and plots with regards to this. And some people are saying this is all bad and it's all negative and it's just going to make things so much worse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And what we can see quite clearly is those who were responsible for the oppression, they have disappeared. There are dangers in the future, but I think in this kind of circumstance, what the Muslim should do is thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his immense blessings, and try not to be negative and look at everything in the most negative manner, and do whatever we can to assist those Muslims who are being oppressed everywhere. And those Muslims who are in difficult circumstances everywhere. I'm speaking about Syria and Damascus right now. Of course, Gaza is always on our minds. We should continue to support as much as we can in any way that we can. It's been an incredibly long time that they've been in just unbearable, indescribable circumstances, but we must persist, we must continue to raise our voices, we must continue with the boycotts, we must continue to help in any way that we can. And please do not undermine these means. These are the means that are available to us as individuals living here where we are living. So these should not be undermined. Anything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the ability to do, we must exercise it. And those people who are not taking the actions they should, people with greater power and influence, that are not taking the actions that they should to help our brothers and sisters in Gaza, their affairs with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Most High will judge them. And we will remind them too that they should use the abilities and the forces and the resources that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them to assist those people. But we must do what we can to boycott, to speak out, to protest, and anything we see as beneficial. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve all of those who are suffering.